Hey guys, it's Hungry Cat, and today I'm going to talk about what gear I'm taking with me on my CDT Thru-Hike. The pack I'm going to be taking is the same pack that I hiked most of my Thru-Hike of the Appalachian Trail with. It's the Z-Pack's Arc Haul. It's a 62 liter pack. And this is what it looks like with all of my gear in it. This is my shelter and sleep system that I'll be taking with me on the trail. And I kind of want to go through each one of these items and break them down a little bit. This is the Z-Pack's Plexamid tent. It's a single person tent, super lightweight. It's a single wall tent that sets up with one trekking pole. And so far, I really like it. This is my sleep system. I have it in a Z-Pack's Medium Plus dry bag. Let me go ahead and open it up and show you what's in there. The first thing I want to talk about is the quilt I'll be bringing. On the AT, I used a 20-degree Western Mountaineering sleeping bag, and I really liked it. The thing that I didn't like about it was that when the weather started to warm up and I would get really hot, I couldn't open it up. So I was always either too hot or too cold. And I just love the way that with this quilt, I can actually open it all the way up like a blanket if I want to. The other thing I have over here is my Sea to Summit inflatable pillow. I've just blown it up, but it squashes down nicely into my dry bag. And then because the quilt just sort of comes up to my shoulders, I got this supplemental down hood from Z-Pack's. It only weighs just a teeny bit over an ounce, and this keeps my neck and head nice and warm when it's cold. This is my Thermarest Neo Air Extra Light sleeping pad. It's an inflatable pad. It's the same one I used on the AT. Time for bed. Wow, this thing still kind of smells from my AT Thru-Hike. This is the Thermarest Z seat. Kind of unfolds in an accordion style, and it's just something to sit on so I don't have to sit in the dirt or on prickly briars in the desert. I used it on the AT, and I'll use it on the CDT. This is the cook system I'm going to bring with me. The pot I'm bringing is the titanium Snow Peak Trek 700. The one modification is it actually comes with a top. And I'm not bringing the top because it kind of just flopped around in my bag, and the only reason I ever used it was to help water heat up more quickly, but it's not really necessary. For a stove, I'm using the BRS titanium stove. It only weighs 1 ounce. When the BRS stove is unfolded, it looks like this, and the stove screws onto the top of a gas canister just like this. So my pot just goes right on top. For an eating utensil, I will bring the aluminum long-handled Sea to Summit spork. The other piece of equipment that I have here is simply an old card of some type. I think this is a hotel membership card at one point in my career, but it's really lightweight, and I like to use the edges to help get anything that might be stuck to the pot off of it. In terms of the gas canister, this is just here for example purposes. I like to carry the small ones. These big ones, sometimes you do get stuck having to get those because that's all that's available in towns. You know, I try and use the little ones where I can. To light my stove and for fire, I carry a Bic mini lighter. I put it next to the quarter for scale. It's super tiny, really lightweight, and they actually last quite a long time. I'm actually considering cold soaking part of the CDT, partly as an experiment because I've never really committed to that, and partly just because I want to save the weight and not have to deal with cooking. But right now, this is what I'm going to start with. If I do cold soak, it basically means the only piece of gear here that I would need to bring would be my spork. To some of you, this might look like a pile of trash. But this is actually my food storage system, at least for the start of the hike. So over to the left here is my Z-Pack's Cuban fiber food bag. This is new. It's an OpSac bag, and it is supposed to be a completely odor-proof bag. What I plan to do initially, I always put all my food per day in Ziploc garbage bags just to keep it organized. It also helps contain the smells. Definitely not as good as the OpSac here, but it does help. So I'll have all my food just inside those bags and inside here. And the OpSac, I'm gonna use as double protection and put the kinds of things in there that will emit more odors. So like my trash bag, my pot after I've cooked in it. Initially in the desert, I'm probably going to be sleeping with my food quite a bit. There's just no place to hang it. And I just don't want to carry the 8.8 ounces of an Ursack initially. Now, when I get up into Colorado, at that point, I'll probably re-examine my food carrying system and maybe consider switching to an Ursack for bear country. And for those times when I can hang my bear bag, this is just a Z-Packs rucksack, which helps me get my rope line over tree limbs. And inside is a very slick Z-line cord. It's sort of like paracord, but really slippery. And there's about 50 feet of it inside. This is my water filtration and carrying system for the trail. I'll have a total carrying capacity of 5 liters. The CNOC water bladder bag that I'll be carrying is the same one that I used on the AT. I did have a little bit of trouble with it on the AT, getting pinholes, but never a major blowout, and their customer service was super awesome. So that's what I'll be using to carry water or just get it out of a water source to filter it. And then I have 2 1.5 liter smart water bottles. With these smart water bottles, I like to use the sport caps. This little end right here is really useful to back flush the Sawyer filter. It just fits right on the connector really tightly. And I like to have 2 different colors of the sport tops in case I want to have dirty water in one bottle and clean water in another, just so that I remember. And then for the filter, I'm going to be using the newer Sawyer Micro. The flow rate does seem to be comparable to the regular Sawyer. It's not that horrible restricted flow rate that the Sawyer Mini has. So I'm going to give the Micro a whirl. And then I have this blue coupling that Sawyer makes to attach this to my smart water bottle if I'm filtering water from the CNOC bladder, and I just want to make that process a little bit easier. This Sea to Summit Nano Ultrasil dry sack has all of my clothes in it. So let's check out my layers. For my outer layer, I'm taking the Enlighten Equipment Torrid Apex jacket. On the AT, I used a Patagonia down sweater or down jacket, and I really liked it, but it's just starting to lose some of its warmth. So this actually weighs less than my down jacket. Next up are some other outer layers that I'm going to be using. New again this year is a pair of wind pants. So these are the Enlighten Equipment Copperfield wind pants. They're also an extra layer I can sleep in if it's really cold and my down quilt feels like I just need a little bit more warmth. And they're super light. I think it weighs just over an ounce. And then for other outer layers, when it's cold, I have my alpaca beanie. I actually picked this up when I was hiking in Peru. I used it on the AT. It's really light, soft. I love it. A pair of gloves. My hands were often cold on the Appalachian Trail, and the gloves I had were just windbreaker gloves and didn't have a lot of insulation. I'm trying these Possum Down Z-Packs gloves. They weren't that expensive. I'm gonna give those a whirl. And then I've got my tried and true buff. Always carry this. I use it to sleep in. I use it for sun protection around my neck. It's just an awesome piece of gear. For additional sun protection, I'm taking a bandana. So this is designed to go under the rim of my hat so that it will flow over my ears and the back of my neck. And then of course I have my tried and true mesh trucker hat, the Hungry Cat hat itself. For a hat that has so many miles on it, it's really stayed pretty clean. These are my hiking clothes. Most of the time I'll be hiking in these shorts and this shirt. The shirt is the Columbia Silver Ridge Light. It's the plaid model because, you know, gotta have a little plaid. And it breathes really well. The buttons give a little bit of airflow in the front, and in the back, you've got these nice vents. The only downside of it is poly-based material, so it does smell bad really quickly. Literally after one day with this thing, it stinks, and I stink. But I'm just gonna have to deal with that because what I used on the AT was merino wool, which is great, but just too hot for the desert. For my shorts, these are just an old pair of Nike running shorts. They're, I think, 7 inches in length. They have the built-in liner. They dry pretty quickly. Pockets on both sides. I've had them forever. They haven't died yet. I had them on the AT. We'll see if they survive the CDT. Here are the rest of the clothes that I'm going to be carrying on my CDT hike. I'm bringing this other short sleeve shirt for camp and for towns. This is an icebreaker merino wool t-shirt. I love these shirts because they really don't smell that bad. They do really well with odors, and they're super breathable but also stay pretty warm. And to make sure that my kit is modular, for those chilly nights at camp, I have this REI silk base layer, and I put that on first, and then I'll put the t-shirt on top of that for a double layer. So it gives me a nice 90s grunge look, but it also works really well because, you know, if I'm too hot, I can take one or the other off. And the silk base layer is nice to sleep in. Also for sleeping and for use with my tights, I just have this pair of ex officio briefs. Yeah, these would make grandma proud. They're officially granny panties. And then I have these North Face thermal tights. These are actually new. I'm super excited about these. I had another pair of tights that just wasn't doing the job for me. These do a much better job of keeping out wind. While hiking, I'll be wearing the crew length Injinji toe sock liners and the crew length Darn Tough socks. And I also have a complete other set, one more pair of liners and one more pair of socks for when these are really nasty or wet, and also just to have a clean pair of socks or cleanish pair of socks for sleeping. This is my rain gear. So over here, we have the Z-Pax Virtus rain jacket, and this is a homemade rain skirt out of a garbage bag. For the rain skirt, I cut the top of a garbage bag off and then cut the length down so that it just came down to the bottom of my shorts, just to give me a little bit of extra protection and help keep my waist dry. Footwear. These are the Ultra Olympus 3.0. I hiked a little over 100 miles of the AT in these. I was really excited to get into these shoes and have them work well for me. I'm still using the Dirty Girl Gaiters. These are the same ones that I used on the Appalachian Trail. This is everything I'm carrying for my toiletries, my first aid kit, sun protection, and bug begone stuff. So right here, this is just a big old wad of toilet paper. Actually, it's an entire roll. I know that seems kind of crazy, but here's the deal. This is the super awesome plush soft stuff, the kind of stuff that I'm not going to see again for another 3,000 miles. I'm really going to enjoy the fact that I have this nice plush toilet paper, and I'm not ashamed of carrying it. And then I've got a packet of wet wipes in here. I just like to have those to clean up and wipe salt off my body along the way. It really helps prevent chafing and just make you feel a little bit cleaner. I call it a trail shower. And then I've got a thing of hand sanitizer here. Gotta practice leave no trace. I don't like trying to dig holes with the tip of my trekking pole, so I bring this Deuce of Spades trowel. At night, gotta brush my teeth, so I sawed off a toothbrush and stuck that in a plastic bag here, along with a little mini toothpaste and some dental floss. Now the dental floss is also for field repairs. This is my med kit. I have ibuprofen, some Benadryl, a couple of extra strength Tylenol, just in case I'm sick with a fever for whatever reason, a roll of Leukotape, which is that stuff there, a couple Allegra for allergies, and I think I have one antibacterial Band-Aid. I don't really use Band-Aids that much. And then a little bit of Neosporin type stuff here, and one patch of moleskin, which I'll sometimes use in conjunction with the Leukotape. I've got this wonderful bug net. It was awesome on the Appalachian Trail, and I'm carrying it again for the Continental Divide. My understanding is that the mosquitoes can get pretty bad, so I'll be glad to have that. And then I have the Benz 100 Deep. I really hate using this stuff because it's greasy, it's supposed to be not good for gear, but my experience with mosquitoes in the backcountry is that anything else really just doesn't work. So if I'm gonna bother carrying something, I wanna make sure it works. And I try not to use it, but when I'm really getting eaten up, gotta have the 100% DEET. For the sun, I'm gonna be wearing this pair of sunglasses that at some point in my earlier life, when I thought maybe these were cool, I bought them at a used clothing store, So now I'm just gonna look ridiculous on the trail with them. And I do put them in this really lightweight little case just to try and help keep them from getting scratched up. I don't particularly care about the glasses, but there's nothing more annoying than trying to look out through glasses that are really scratched up. And then I have pale Irish skin, so the only tan I get is a bright red one. Therefore, I carry some kind of sunscreen that is not chemical based. So I think this is zinc oxide based. So if you see someone super pale walking down the trail looking like a geisha, it's probably me. But this stuff works really well. I used it on the AT, and unfortunately, yeah, I carry a whole tube of it because I go through a lot of it. And then lastly, I always carry some kind of lip balm. This is a Burt's Bees. These are all my electronics and electronic related items for the trail, as well as my navigational tools. I'll be using Guthook for navigation, as well as the free Avenza map app. In the Avenza map app, I've uploaded the Jonathan Lay CDT maps, which I have a paper copy of here. Now I'm going to be carrying each state's maps in a gallon Ziploc bag like this, along with me. And so this is New Mexico right here, and the other ones I'll have mailed ahead along the way. And in addition to this, I also have my logistics spreadsheet for resupply, which I talked about in my other video on food and resupply logistics for the CDT. So if you're interested in that, check it out. This year I'm doing something new. My wife and I want to be able to communicate. She wants to know that I'm okay, and I want to be able to receive messages from her. So I'm going to be carrying this Garmin InReach Mini. Of course, it has its own USB charging cord that goes with it, which I'll bring. Along with the paper maps and the Garmin, I'm also just going to have a button compass. In terms of power, I'm bringing the Anchor 15,000 milliamp hour, I think it's called Redux or Redo battery pack. I had the 10,000 milliamp battery pack for the Appalachian Trail. I'm bringing a little bit more juice because there's more distance between towns, and because I'm going to be doing more with my phone, both for navigation and otherwise. Also have the charging cable for this and a little sack that it goes in, which I'm going to keep just to protect it. And then for getting these things charged up, I have a dual power port or USB port Anchor charger that has the prongs that fold in and out. This allows me to get the maximum charge for my devices. If your device can handle a certain output, you want to make sure that your charger doesn't slow you down. And that's important to me because sometimes in towns, I might not want to stay, but I might want to try and charge my devices. And so something like this is going to at least ensure that they're charging as quickly as possible. I have my iPhone charger. That's just the one that came with the phone, nothing special about it. And then my iPhone headphones. Also nothing special about those, they came with the phone. This is my headlamp. So I used a black diamond, I think it was the Spot on the AT. This is the Petzl E-Light. It weighs just under an ounce, super light. It has a red light, multiple settings. So you can see here how it kind of pops out and you can move it around. It has a kind of swivel ball system right there. It's only 50 lumens, so it's not the brightest thing, but I have taken it out on the trail and it did seem like it would be good enough for some night hiking. The thing I like about it is it does not have a rechargeable battery, and so I don't have to use any of the power from my Anchor to charge this guy. Lastly, I've got this Pedco UltraPod tripod. This is just for me to do some filming and photography on the trail. It's really compact and lightweight, so we'll see what I can do with it. This is my, I guess people call it a ditty bag, just a random small stuff sack to hold my electronics and just anything that doesn't really have a home, so to speak. Earplugs, probably just for hostels or if someone camps near to me who is snoring really loudly. I carry a Sharpie with a sewing needle taped in. This is Leukotape, so extra Leukotape if I need it. It serves the purpose of also holding this sewing needle into the Sharpie so I don't lose that and it doesn't puncture anything. And the Sharpie is for addressing postal boxes to myself in town. My experience at post offices is you can usually find a pen to write something, but you can't always find a marker if you want to put something like hold for CDT hiker on your box. So I bring a Sharpie just in case. This is a small repair kit for my Thermarest mattress in my tent. And then my trail wallet. It's just a quart-sized bag. This is the knife that I'll be bringing on my CDT Thru-Hike. I used it on the Appalachian Trail as well. It's the Swiss Army Victorinox. I purchased it at REI for about $14. And I like this yellow color because it's nice and bright in case I drop it at camp. The knife has everything I need on it, and as you can see with the 1/4 for scale, it's quite small. The trekking poles I'm going to be using are the Black Diamond Trail trekking poles. These are the same ones I used on the AT. They've got a lot of miles on them, they're very dependable. And I will be using these to hike with, as well as one of them to set up my tent with. And lastly, I wanted to talk for a minute about some of the things that I'm going to have shipped for the anticipated snow in Colorado. And I don't really know what of this stuff that I will need, so I just wanted to talk about what my plan is. On the left I have the Camp Corsa Ice Axe. It's there for stability and self-arrest. The next thing I'm bringing are the Catula microspikes. They come in this little bag here. One of them's in the bag right now, and I pulled the other one out just so you can see. And this elastic band just goes up and over the front and back of your shoe, and these all line up on the bottom of the shoe. I would only need those if I think the traverses are going to be icy. If they are snowy, then it's possible I will need to order snowshoes. I do not own a pair of snowshoes today. I have done some research on snowshoes, and I would probably end up getting an MSR brand like the Evo that's pretty lightweight, and I'd probably get it with the tails, which are extensions that go on the back that help you stay up on the surface of the snow a little bit better. But I don't want to get those unless I know that I will need them. This gear I already had because originally I was thinking about hiking the PCT, and I found it all on sale at a heavily discounted price, so I went ahead and got it. But whether or not I will need any of this is unclear yet. And the other thing I'm potentially having sent to northern New Mexico is this Ursack. This is the extra large. It is a bear-resistant food sack. I'm not starting out with this because I don't really need it in the desert in New Mexico. There's no bears there. But I will think about using it for Colorado and farther north, just for a little extra peace of mind. All right, everybody, that concludes my gear overview of everything I'm going to be carrying on my CDT Thru-Hike. I hope you found it useful and informative. In the comments box below, I'm also going to include a link to my lighterpack.com page. If you go to this page, you can see a list of all of the gear that I've talked about in this video, all of the gear that I'm going to be taking on my Thru-Hike. In addition, you can see the weight of each piece of gear, in case you're trying to make gear decisions of your own or just find it interesting. And you'll see how all of the pieces add up to my total pack weight and my base weight. Now my base weight, which is the weight of my pack without food, water, fuel, and the clothes that I'll be wearing on my back, is right now sitting at about 11.5 pounds. Now I'm pretty happy with that. Also on the lighterpack.com page, for each piece of gear, you'll be able to see a link to where you can find that piece of gear online for sale. Some of those links go to Amazon and others go to the manufacturer websites, where you'll also be able to see additional specifications about the gear if you're interested. Now, if you do purchase a piece of gear from one of my Amazon affiliate links, I do receive a tiny commission from that. It doesn't increase the price to you or affect your purchase in any way. It's just kind of a way that you can help support what I'm doing with the channel and with my blog, unfetteredfootsteps.com, and I really appreciate it. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next video or update on the blog. Thanks again for all of your support, and I hope to see some of you out on the trail.